make sure to follow us on Instagram at Whistlethrowers. It's a great way to interact with our show. Our DMs are always open for questions, topic discussions, and more. You will be able to find our new episodes and other announcements there.
Garrett Wilson looks miserable. Like every single play, he just looks that he doesn't want to be on that team anymore.
All right, thanks for tuning into the Whistlethrowers podcast. This is Jack Mubarak, joined by
Aidan Tiksinski.
And Jack's coming, he's late, so he'll join whenever he gets here. But got a full slate of NFL to discuss. So I want to start with the Dolphins. They put up 70 and their running backs combined for 8 touchdowns, which is unheard of. This is great and all, but they played the Broncos. So I'm going to ask Aidan, is this more on the Broncos being terrible or more on the Dolphins being a legit contender this year?
So what's so interesting about Denver this year is how bad their defense has been, when last year it was their offense that was a problem. That being said, the Dolphins offense, if they can stay healthy, and especially if Tua stays healthy, I don't think there's many teams that can stop them. I mean, they didn't even have Jalen Waddle and put up 70 points. They had 2 running backs get 4 touchdowns each. Devon actually got freaking 218 rushing yards as the second running back. Mozart got something like 70 receiving yards. Like, that's just the receivers, or that's the running back, sorry. So when you go through the receivers as well, Tyreek Hill had a great game. Like I said, Jalen Waddle didn't even play. Mike Gesicki played well. Like, that is a really, really explosive offense. And if their defense can play as well as they've played in the couple of games and get a little bit better, I think that the Dolphins could be a really, really historic team.
Yeah, I think so as well. I don't know as far as historic, but I'm definitely putting them at the top of their division, near the top of their conference, and pushing for a Super Bowl this year, because Tyreek Hill is a problem, and he wasn't even really that big of a problem like the last game. It was more of the running backs, but that's like saying something. Like, if he can go off and get outshined by like the second string running back, like, this team is dangerous. Like, I had questions with Tua coming into the year, but he looks perfectly fine. I can't account for his brain health, but for the meantime, he's throwing the football well.
Yeah. I mean, Tyreek Hill still had 9 receptions for 157 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah, I'm saying, like, compared to what he did week 1, like, he had better games.
I think, too, what's so scary is how these guys are all being put all over the field. Like, you have Mozart going out as like a slot receiver almost at certain points. You have him in the backfield. You have him catching passes everywhere. If you have Ashley running at all, his speed's just killer. Mm-hmm. So they just have so many weapons that it's hard to sort of figure out how you want to stack them. It's basically the same issue that teams are going to have with the 49ers, where there's so many weapons that you have to account for. Unless you have a very, very solid defense and a healthy defense, there's not really many ways you're going to stop these offenses.
No, I kind of thought it was jokes that even Mike White, like, threw a touchdown in that game. Like, it was just getting ridiculously out of hand. And, like, I don't even think Wilson played, like, that bad, honestly.
No.
Like, it was just
didn't. And the thing is that, the Broncos putting up 20 points, like, in the NFL, it's not great. It will win you some games, lose you others, depending on your defense plays. He did have 1 touchdown, 1 interception, so, like, his stats were, but not as you should lose by, like, 50 points. Like, that's all on the defense.
Oh, yeah, for sure. We can move over to the Chargers and Vikings game. We were talking about this a lot, and it did come down to the wire. Chargers managed to pull out with a 4-point victory. Where does this leave the Vikings? Now that you're 0-3, you have the probably consensus best wide receiver in the league, assuming Tyreek Hill doesn't keep doing what he's doing. What moves would you make if you're the Vikings, if any, right now?
I mean, I don't really know what they can do. They got Cam Akers, who obviously they didn't lose last week because they got him on Wednesday, so playing on Sunday would have been ridiculous. I don't know if that makes a huge difference for them, but at least helps a little bit with the running backs. But even Madison played better in this game than he had before, and Chandler averaged 9 yards a carry. So it's not like they were that bad offensively, and they even held the Chargers to only 4 touchdowns. So I don't really know where to go. It's just, to me, what's happened is that last year they were 11-0 in one-possession games, and this year they're 0-3. So the games that they won last year that were close, they're just not doing that this year. And that could just be a mixture of to me, it's mostly bad luck. And it's the same way that they had really good luck winning those games last year. So they need to figure out how to win those games the way they did last year, or else they're going to be in trouble. I think 0-3, you're still in trouble. I mean, now it's a 17-game season, so you could still finish 9-8 if you're lucky. Even 8-9 can maybe get you the 7th wild card, but they need to pick it up fast. And it's not like their schedule gets any easier. I mean, you play the Panthers, so that's an easy game. You play the Bears, but in between those games, you've got the Chiefs. So you play the Panthers, then you play the Chiefs, then you play the Bears, and then you have back-to-back games against the 49ers and Packers. So you need to win a game that you're probably not supposed to, and also beat the Panthers and Bears to even have a chance to get back into this.
Yeah, that's going to be tough. Like your next game, obviously playing the Panthers, that's going to be a confidence booster, but then you play the Chiefs, so it's going to be tough to get real momentum going there.
Yeah.
Repeat the matchup. You said it was Panthers,
Chiefs, Bears, 49ers, Packers.
Oh, I don't know which of those three matchups, like, I would prefer them, like, or I would favor them to, like, upset the other team, you know? Like, it's definitely not the Chiefs. Definitely not the Chiefs.
I would say the best chance they have is the Packers, just because of the way Jordan Love played in the first 3 quarters before the 4th quarter. But if he plays as well in the rest of the games as he did in the 4th quarter, the Packers are not going to be a very beatable team.
Oh, no, yeah. Jordan Love looks amazing, and if he keeps it up, like, he's going to be a top quarterback for years to come.
Yeah, I do want to – he played well. I will say for the first 3 quarters, he played really bad, and if Derek Carr doesn't get hurt, I think the Saints win this game.
Derek Carr's injury, like, going to be long-term, or is it just a tweak?
From what I saw, early reports, I haven't seen anything since Sunday, is that there's a chance that he's out multiple weeks. They're saying that luckily he avoided a season-ending injury, which is very good for the Saints and very good for him. But even if it's another 3 to 4 weeks, do you trust Jameis Winston to get you those wins? Like, I don't.
No, I don't either.
I mean, they're playing the Buccaneers, who have a very good defense, although the Eagles made their defense not look as good as it had been the first couple weeks. You play the Patriots, also a good defense team. And then you got the Texans, which could be a really interesting matchup if you don't have Derek Carr back by then.
So we got someone joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
We can move into the Giants-Niners game. So I gotta say, the Giants did put up more of a fight than I thought they were going to. I thought it was going to be another 40-0 incident, but it wasn't. Daniel Jones is no help on that offensive line. They lost Saquon. Looks like he'll miss the next week, probably. Is there any hope for the Giants to salvage their season at all, or is this just going to be like a hiccup year for them?
Well, I mean, they are only 1-2, which isn't a terrible spot to be in considering their circumstances. And I actually agree with you. Like, I think 30-12 was, I think the score didn't tell the full story of the game, especially in the first half. I thought they played a little bit better in the first half, especially defensively. You know, offensively, the whole game was just pretty much a slug. But defensively, I thought in the first half they played a bit better. I think a major play that changed the complexion of the game was Trent Williams not getting ejected for throwing a punch at the Giants' D lineman at the end of the first half. I thought that was a major moment in the game. And I'm not sure why he wasn't ejected, because you think about that changes everything. You know, you're lining up Thibodeau on the left tackle that's replacing Williams all day. And you know, you're letting him go to work. They're going to have to double team him. Dexter Lawrence is getting single teams. Like, that would have changed a lot. So I think, considering everything that happened, I thought the Giants played better than what 12 points shows.
Yeah, I do too. Like, given how their first 2 weeks went, like, this was definitely an improvement game.
Right.
My only thing is, I don't see, like, where the room is, like, in the division this year, because, like, they were that third team, but it looks like the Commanders are that third team this year. And honestly, like, maybe this Cowboys thing, like, if they're not as good as they look the first 2 weeks, and maybe they have a chance to move up in the ranks. But I think we should move into the Cowboys game next, because my first take this season has been wrong, and I'm not mad about it at all. Like, it was the Cowboys, so, like, they could prove me wrong all day. Is this more, like, showing that, like, Trayvon Diggs had, like, that big of an impact on the defense, or is this just, like, what the Cowboys do every year?
I don't think this was a Trayvon Diggs thing, because the Cardinals just ran over the Cowboys. Like, I don't think having Diggs in makes a difference at all because Dobbs only passed for 189 yards. Mm-hmm. So maybe you get a pick. But besides that, like, you should have been able to stop James Conner. Joshua Dobbs should not be able to run for 55 yards on you. Rondale Moore should not have been able to gotten 54 yards. And this is what I said about the Cowboys, is that they had a chance to be special if Dak Prescott didn't turn over the ball and the defense was able to win the games. Well, the defense couldn't win the games this week, and it came down the offense. And what did Dak Prescott do? Through a red zone interception, a very clutch situation, the same way Dak Prescott always does. Mm-hmm. And as a Cowboys fan, that's got to be the main concern. That the moment that there's any pressure on Dak, he just folds. And if that's what you're going to see, then it doesn't matter how well the defense plays because the defense is going to slip. Look, the NFL is a very high-scoring league. We saw what the Dolphins just did. That can happen week to week. Your defense won't win you every game. The offense needs to step up at certain points. And I don't have that confidence in Dak at all to do that. Considering that in week 1, he didn't have to do anything. Week 2, he did all right. But again, it was against the Jets, so he didn't really have to do anything because the defense was able to just win them both those games. So you need to step up. This was the first time all season he needed to step up, and he failed miserably. And that should be a huge concern for the Cowboys fans and the Cowboys franchise as a whole.
Yeah, I completely agree with Aidan. Like, although I think Trayvon Diggs being out affected them in that game and affected the outcome, I mean, you look at the stats. The Cardinals didn't win by throwing the ball in the air and targeting Trayvon Diggs' backup. I mean, they threw for 178, which is and they ran for 222 yards, like you said. Like, that's where they won the game, was in the trenches. And you think about what Dallas was doing. They ran for 185 yards. Like, let's not try and say that the entire offense as a whole was struggling. That's wrong. What you were saying was correct, Aidan. Dak Prescott, the game was put in your hands. You had to make the plays to win them the game. And you didn't need to have a perfect game. You didn't even need to have a stellar game. You just needed to make, it's probably 5, 6, 7 plays in that game Dak Prescott needed to make and could not make. And we can look at the Kaiser White interception all we want. You know, that's obviously the big play that's going around circulating social media, but that's just 1P in the pod. He had a bad game, and his numbers weren't actually terrible. Like, you see, he completed 63% of his passes, 25 for 40. It's not terrible. 250 yards. It's not horrible, but it just comes down to those singular plays that I'm talking about that Dak Prescott just could not make. And I want to go through some quarterbacks that I think do make these plays because a couple of them came out this week. I know you guys already talked about Jordan Love. Jordan Love didn't have a great game overall, but he made the plays in the fourth quarter to win them the game. That's what matters. Jalen Hurts last night didn't play all that well, but he made the plays that he needed to when it counted. Dak Prescott can't do it. And that's why Dak Prescott is falling in rankings. I mean, you think back to when he was a rookie, he must have climbed as high as 6, 7. You know, a lot of people were putting him in that category. And on this track, because Dak Prescott has not had a good start to the season. The first 3 games have not been good. Dak Prescott on this track is going to look like a bottom 15 quarterback.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Mm-hmm. He's going to pick up where he left off last season because he led the league in interceptions. Right. Like, so he was pretty much bottom 15 already. Yeah. I just thought about this on the top of my head. So obviously, Cowboys have a lot of questions that need answering at quarterback, and the Vikings are kind of in hot water right now. Would you do a quarterback swap? Like, would that make sense?
I totally would. And I sort of see where the Jets are coming from because you don't necessarily want to just give up on Zach Wilson and
Oh, no, like I'm talking about Dak for Kirk.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you said Zach.
Yeah.
Wow.
I wouldn't.
I
don't see. Here's the thing. Kirk is playing so well for the Vikings. It's not his fault that they're losing these games closely.
Mm-hmm. No, but
like
keep going.
Yeah, I'm just thinking like it wouldn't make sense for the Vikings. For the Cowboys, absolutely. Doesn't make a lot of sense. But I don't see what good that would do for Minnesota considering where they're at right now and what they did last year. I think they still have confidence with the playmakers that they have that they can get back to that point. Whether or not they actually can remains to be seen. But if you trade for Dak, you're immediately admitting defeat 3 weeks into the season.
Yeah,
I don't think that's a move that they should make.
The only way I see it making sense is at Dak's age compared to Kirk's age. Like, obviously, they wouldn't have to do a quarterback swap. They'd have to give picks from Dallas's end to them. If you committed a younger quarterback to Justin Jefferson, who actually is a little way more mobile with his legs than Kirk is, I don't know, like maybe I might be crazy, but I could see an argument where it would work, like not just for the Cowboys, because I think if the Cowboys did that, they'd be Super Bowl contenders. Everyone knows this, but for the Vikings, like it doesn't seem like that insane to me.
Mm-hmm. I actually agree with you in a way. Like I see Aidan's point, because it does like scream conceding defeat from their end, but I also understand what you're saying too. I think that it could. On the flip side of that coin, it could be a wake-up call to the team, you know, and sort of change things and change a culture, change a locker room a little bit. Same thing on Dallas's end. Like, I think it definitely makes way more sense for Dallas. Way more sense for Dallas. For Minnesota, I sort of think you're opening a Pandora's box with either decision, because if you want to ride it out with Kirk, his track record hasn't really been great. You know, it's been okay. He's shown that he can lead playoff teams, but can he lead playoff wins remains to be seen. And for the other side, you know, bringing Dak in, there is no telling what could come out of that decision. There's absolutely no telling. That's very dangerous. It's very risky, but at the same time, like for both teams, you're sort of in a bad spot. I know the Cowboys are 2-1, but that was incredibly eye-opening. Losing to the Arizona Cardinals was terrible.
Yeah.
And for the Vikings, you're obviously 0-3. Like, you are not going down a good path. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if either team decides to shake it up.
Yeah, I think they're shopping Kirk secretly right now.
I could see it, yeah. And like that's the thing in the NFL too, is the inner circles in terms of trade talks are a little bit kept more on the back burner. Like the NBA, it's like the minute a team calls another team about a player, it gets reported. Mm-hmm. But that's not necessarily the case in the NFL.
Yeah, so you did mention Zach Wilson. I want to touch up on that game. Obviously, like the Patriots still don't look great, but they played a banged up Jets offense. Like there's no movement at all. I'm not gonna lie, like Zach Wilson, like I thought there was something there week 1 and like the second half of week 2, but like he looks terrible.
Yeah, I
like
know.
He's gotten worse week by week, quarter by quarter, and I don't know if you saw this, but Joe Namath was like saying, I think today on Tuesday, they should look to trade him. Like he's seen enough. Like Colin Kaepernick, J. Cole actually released Colin Kaepernick's letter to the Jets saying that they should think of him. And in the letter, I don't know if he wrote it like before the season, but he was saying, God forbid quarterback 1 goes down. So I think he wrote it like before Aaron Rodgers even went out. So do you even think about that?
I would. Like the Jets signed Trevor Siemian to their practice squad today, so it kind of eliminates the possibility, I guess. But I don't know. I just feel like signing Kaepernick to your practice squad over Siemian makes a ton more sense. Like, no matter how you feel about Colin Kaepernick and what he did, you can't deny that Colin Kaepernick led the 49ers to the Super Bowl that year. It was a great team. And Colin Kaepernick has won playoff games in big spots and made plays in big games. So I don't necessarily think that it's crazy or outlandish at all, especially in what he said. Like he said, just sign me to the practice squad and give me a shot. Like, why wouldn't you do that? I don't understand why you wouldn't do that, because you're in an insane predicament.
Yeah, I was always kind of dismissive, like when Colin Kaepernick scenarios would come up, but I think this is the most it makes the most sense this time around to like give him a shot. Yeah. And that sounds weird because like how many years? It's been like 6-8 years since he's been out.
It's been a while, yeah.
Yeah, like I was shutting them out like 2 years inactive in the NFL, but there's not many options. Like the fact that they haven't signed Carson Wentz yet kind of just says like it's slim pickings out there.
Right, yeah.
And I think Colin Kaepernick is who you call when slim pickings is out there.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I've got no faith in the Jets. To me, it doesn't matter what they do. Like, you can bring in Kaepernick. He says that he wants to be on the practice squad anyway, so it wouldn't make a huge difference. Zach Wilson looks awful.
Yeah.
Like, really, really bad. And I know that people are saying that Robert Saleh is sticking up for him too much. Saleh has no other options. Like, the Jets put all of their eggs in one basket, and that basket tore his ACL 3 plays into the season.
Yeah.
Like, they've got no other options.
Mm-hmm.
And the locker room, to me, looks split because they know that Zach Wilson's not going to win them any games.
Mm-hmm.
Garrett Wilson looks miserable. Like, every single play, he just looks that he doesn't want to be on that team anymore. I don't know what direction that they can go. I think they need to start thinking about the draft next year. Like, that's where it's got to be. Like, I know that Rodgers might come back, but if you have to start playing for the possibility that maybe he doesn't, or you just tank. And what they could do, and this is what the Browns, they were really, really smart about this, is that the year they drafted Baker, they also drafted Ward and they drafted Njoku. So what they did was they built up those draft picks so that when they were ready for the rebuild, they could just go right into it. I think that's what the Jets should do. I definitely think that's what the Bears should do after the way they played. Because the Bears might be the only team that looked worse than the Jets offensively.
Yeah. You think drafting is better than signing or trading someone?
Yeah. And again, the Jets are in a little bit of a different situation because you have Rodgers next year, hopefully. So I don't think they necessarily have to draft a quarterback next year, but I think that they shouldn't rule out the idea of just playing Wilson this year, maybe trading for someone that will help them win a few more games than that, but just building in the draft so that when Rodgers comes back, you'll have an even better roster.
Yeah, I can see that because even if Rodgers comes back, like I was saying, like including this season, he probably had like 2-3 more after that, but accounting for the Achilles, he probably has like 1 to 3 left now.
And I know this is revisionist history too, but it just kind of feels to me like the Jets made a mistake in the offseason because
getting Rodgers?
Yeah, because I got to be honest, like I just don't think it was a great idea going for the aging superstar quarterback when like Lamar Jackson was practically begging any team really to go get him. And I know Lamar Jackson, he isn't Aaron Rodgers level. Like he won an MVP, but at the same time, Rodgers at this point in his career, that Lamar Jackson is at was better at the time. He's better now, probably even. Mm-hmm. But I think that, you know, what's better, having Rodgers tearing on a torn Achilles or having Lamar Jackson at a little less play, you know? And Lamar Jackson isn't a scrub, obviously. Like he's going to put up top 10 QB play. He's going to have his hiccups, which he does, but you know, I feel like, and again, hindsight is 20/20, but you know, obviously going for a different quarterback in that situation probably would have been the better option, if you're asking me.
Kind of agreeing. I think that's the only team that would have elevated Lamar too.
Right.
Like you have great running backs. Like I think if you kept him in the pocket more, like you really, and you had Garrett Wilson there, you could have actually like really molded him into a good pocket passer.
Yep.
And that would make him more durable. Mm-hmm. The defense is great. He's always had like good defenses, but I think this Jets defense is better than any.
Oh yeah.
Marlon Humphrey Ravens defense.
Yeah. And those defenses were good. So that's really saying something. The Jets defense, like even in the games where Zach Wilson is practically giving the game away, they still look elite. Like, it's I actually feel terrible for them. I don't know if I want to watch another Jets game because my gut wrenches for them. Like it's.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend it after watching the entire game last Sunday.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't help. They're playing the Patriots and they play like the most boring football ever.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. I feel terrible for them, and I would watch strictly only the defense if I could, but I can't. And
yeah,
I have to see their offense go out. And again, it's even sad for their offense. Like they have guys like Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall who they're talented. Like, and there's more that I'm missing. It's just like what good is talent going to do for you when you don't have a quarterback that can deliver them the football? Like, it sucks. I feel bad.
We could talk about the Monday night game. Birds played the Bucks, and I'm not gonna lie, Baker played way better than I thought he was capable of playing against that defense.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he held his own. Obviously, had his first turnover, and the Birds won, but he surprised me, like, seriously. Like, honestly, I would go as far and say he had a great game if Micah Evans didn't drop, like, all those passes.
Yeah, Evans dropped a couple that were, like, just capable for him. And I somewhat agree with you. Baker Mayfield didn't play good, I don't think, but in the beginning of the game, like, I felt like he was making some throws that I was like, they could build off that. It was like ESPN was showing it in the first half, him getting the ball out quickly. It was like, I think they showed him getting the ball out under 2.5 seconds. He was completing a bunch of passes for a bunch of yards. And then, like, when he was getting above 2.5 seconds, he threw the pick.
Mm-hmm.
And was just not making great decisions, getting sacked. Like, I mean, I don't completely blame the Buccaneers because here's the thing. Like, the score at halftime was 13-3. You could have stuck to that game plan and attacked that all day long in a 13-3 game. The Eagles come out in the first drive of the second half, go down for 6.5 minutes, and you're left with 9 minutes left in the third quarter and a 17-point hole. Like, you can't just dink and dunk and get that way down the field on that defense. So I understand why they went away from it, but it's unfortunate, I would say, for them because I felt like they were having something with that.
Yeah, the ball
Yeah,
placement.
I think
Go.
my biggest takeaway, and Zach, you sort of touched on this, the way that the Eagles just manhandled the Bucs in the trenches, both offensively and defensively, was just incredible. Jalen Carter is the next best interior defender, and I don't think I've ever seen a rookie play like him. Jordan Davis, now that he's in shape, he is a beast.
Yeah.
Like the couple times that he wrapped up the Buccaneers running backs, they literally disappeared in his arms.
Yeah.
Like, I've never seen that before. That's like Vince Wilfork level, but he's more athletic than him if he can stay in shape. And just the way that Kelsey and all those other linemen just ran over the Bucs defensive line and gave all that space to Swift, absolutely amazing. So I think that's where the Eagles need to figure out how to keep doing that until Hurts can get back to where he wants to be as a passer. Because if you can do that consistently, you're going to win games, no matter how your quarterback plays, unless your quarterback plays really, really badly. And Hurts didn't play really, really badly. He just played okay. And you can play okay if you win in the trenches.
I think in the first half, like 90% of their rush yards were like without contact.
Yeah.
Like that is insane. Like there was nobody like within 10 feet of Swift for like almost all of his carries.
Yeah, and there was that one play where Kelsey was leading and the two linebackers, like, they didn't run away from it, but they had to, like, run backwards to avoid Kelsey and make the tackle. I mean, Swift didn't get touched until, like, 15 yards down the field. Yeah. It's like, that's almost unseen in the NFL. Like,
that was the red zone play, too, right?
Yeah, I think it was in the red zone, or at least got them into it, something like that. But, like, that, I mean, that was what Aidan put it perfectly. They manhandled them. I mean, and going into that game, I was saying, like, this Buccaneers D-line probably could slow down the run game a little bit and make it hard on the Eagles. Nope. I mean, that was one of the better run defenses they're going to face all year, and the Eagles took them to school. I mean, if that is how the better run defenses are going to look on the Eagles, I'm sorry, I just don't see anyone really putting up that much of a fight with them. I just really don't.
Yeah, I'm worried about the Commanders next week.
Yo,
like, I don't know how.
Aidan, get the bourbon.
What's that?
Get the bourbon.
I did. I've already got it.
Okay.
I'm celebrating right. Yeah, Phillies clinched the playoff spot, baby.
Yeah.
Johan Rojas walk-off.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy. And I mean, I think the best part is that Hoffman was the winning pitcher.
Yeah, love it.
He was not even supposed to be mentioned in the back end of the bullpen.
Nope.
And yet he was the winning pitcher to clinch in the playoff spot. Like, this team is just loaded top to bottom with guys that will consistently come through for you.
Yeah.
And maybe they're not the most talented team. I think the Braves still by far are the best team in baseball.
Right.
But when you have guys that you can rely on from your 1 to 9 and guys in your bullpen that will come through when they need to, that's a scary team for October.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And I feel like the Braves, the only team they're fearing right now is the Phillies. Like, the Phillies match up with them really well. They've got a deep bullpen, a deep lineup, a deep starting rotation, like you were saying. Like, that's a team the Braves don't want to face.
From a Phillies fan, I hope we could avoid them in the postseason again.
Oh, yeah, no, I would rather avoid them.
Yeah.
But we can't. If we win the NLDS or the wild card round, we play them in the NLDS.
Oh.
Yeah.
So there's no avoiding.
Honestly, I would rather play them than the Dodgers just because we're more familiar with them.
Mm-hmm,
I mean, I know that the Phillies beat them last year, so the Braves definitely have that in the back of their mind. Plus, again, they're just unbelievable. Ronald Acuna probably had one of the best seasons in baseball history.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
40 home runs and plus 70 stolen bases. That's just insane.
Yeah. I mean,
and I understand with the rule changes and all that, but still.
Nah, I don't care about that. Like, he could do that. He's like that, you know? Like, I don't think any rule change necessarily impacted that. Like, I think he was bound to put up a season like that, 40-40. If there was any guy, at least, with or without the rule change, if there was any guy in the MLB you were saying that could put up 40-40, it was like him, maybe Mookie Betts was second, you know, to go and achieve that. But even then, it's a stretch for Mookie. I feel like Acuna, it was not
Mookie just doesn't have the power. That's what's so crazy about Acuna, is that he has that speed, but his power with his bat.
Yeah.
No one should be able to do that.
No.
And historically, nobody in baseball has been able to do that. Usually guys either just have power or speed. He has both.
Yeah, you're right.
To an unbelievable level.
Yeah. Normally when you get a guy who can steal 40 bases in a season, you're just happy if he can hit 270, 280 and get on base 340, 330, 350, somewhere around there. And the fact that Acuna can hit 330, get on base close to 400, hit 40 home runs, slug 900 almost. Like, he is unlike any player we've seen in a long time.
Yeah.
That's literally, like, that's what Barry Bonds used to do on the Pirates. I mean, not necessarily steal 40 bases, but put up that production, power, speed. He's 5-tool.
And I know we weren't talking about football, but this baseball playoffs this year,
it's going to be fun.
I'm so excited to see some of these teams. If the Diamondbacks can make it, 100%. Corbin Carroll in the postseason, even if he's playing against the Phillies, that dude is elite as a rookie.
Yeah.
Like, we're going to see so many great young players, especially all of Baltimore. Mm-hmm. You're going to get to see the Rays come back with some of their young guys again.
Seattle.
Like, Seattle again coming back. You know, Julio Rodriguez had a great second half.
Yeah.
Even though he really struggled in the first half. So I'm very, very excited to see some of these newer teams. Yep. And also happy to see some of the older teams start to fall off a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm excited to see Chicago. That was like just a free agency team, and like they've been playing up the par this year. Yeah, Aidan, if they get in, your take is hitting.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah, I'm very excited. I mean, I'm just excited to see that the Orioles one played out as well as it did. I didn't realize, but when I made that pick, I thought that was like, you know, something most people say. They only had like a 10% chance to make the playoffs at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, no, I feel like more people were saying they could sneak in as a wild card, like look really good and get in as a wild card team, but not make too much noise. But I mean, they look above and beyond the best team in the AL. Like, even the Braves have some competition in their league right now. Like, the Dodgers are only 4 wins off them. Like, I don't think there's a chance the Dodgers really are going to get to surpassing them for first, but they're close. But you look at the Orioles, besides the Rays, who are 2 or 3 off them, the next closest is 10 off. Like, it's a pretty steep drop after them. And actually, I have a correction too. The Mariners are not in the playoffs right now. I thought they were.
Yeah, no, they're half a game out.
They lost to they lost to Houston last night. They're playing a really important series right now, actually.
Yeah.
The 2 of them.
Mm-hmm.
And the Rangers won. Yeah, there's like a 3-team race separated by like 3 games or something like that in the AL West.
That's
pretty And it's
insane.
like,
that would be
the first team wins the division, the second makes the wild card, and the third one misses out by like half a game.
Mm-hmm.
It would be lovely if they took out the Astros.
Oh, yeah. That would be cool.
Yeah, I wish they could, but I don't know.
Not looking like it at all.
Nah.
No, not the way they played last night, considering that they had their best pitcher going in. Verlander was on the mound for Houston and just looked dominant.
Yep.
I mean, this dude, I think Verlander can pitch till he's 50.
How old is he?
He's close. Isn't he in his 40s?
He's in his 40s right now.
I think he's got another 5.
Yeah, I mean, he does. The main thing is the fastball is still at 97, 98. That's the main thing.
Which is crazy.
Yeah, and he would probably still be effective at 94, 95. Like, he has nice stuff, but that tick of the fastball being up as high as it is, I have to agree. Like, I don't really see him necessarily just falling off the map.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm sure he could get hurt again. If he gets another Tommy John, that would probably be the end for him, just because at that age you don't want to come back from surgery.
Mm-hmm.
But if he can find a way to stay healthy, and if his velocity drops a little bit, I trust his command so much that I could see him turning into like a Jamie Moyer type pitcher.
I could see it. See it.
The thing is, too, though, he would have to – if the velocity would have to drop, or he'd have to learn to drop it, because I don't see him staying healthy at 46 throwing 97.
Right.
Even 95, I think that's too much on his arm considering how much he's pitched already.
Yeah, I definitely could. I agree with that. And I feel like people have been talking about that a little more because Verlander looked so bad with the Mets and then came to the Astros and kind of rejuvenated himself. But I have seen people saying that they think he could pitch into at least his late 40s and things. And I agree with you. Like, the injury thing concerns me because that's where older pitchers fall, is they get injured, their elbow gives out. That's kind of where they start to lag off. And I don't know, Verlander has had the injury concern. That's mainly concerns me. But I also, assuming that he's healthy for the next couple years, I could definitely see it. Like, he's got insane stuff, and he's one of the best pitchers we've ever seen, at least in our generation, like, for sure.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's him and Scherzer, but even Scherzer's fallen off so much recently that, no, I mean, maybe Kershaw too, but Kershaw's been hurt a lot too.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, Verlander's just dominated the postseason as well in a way that Kershaw really didn't until 2020. And even since then, Verlander's just looked. So, I mean, when you're in the postseason, that's the last guy you want to face.
Oh, yeah. No, you do not want him.
I want to talk about Colorado real quick, actually.
Oh, yeah.
So they got embarrassed by Oregon, and I did not see I mean, I kind of did see it coming because it was like their first like real tough game that they had on the schedule, and that defense can't stop a traffic cone, so it was going to happen eventually. I think all the hype is like slowly going to reside a little bit because like we kind of know like where their position is in the pecking order, even though it's been like 3 games. They're not going to be like a top 8 team, but maybe they could be like a top 9 to like 15 team.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think moving forward, the defense won't be an issue. Guys are going to want to go there from like quarterback to long snapper next year.
Definitely. And I definitely agree with you. Like, the thing is, I feel like people went too in on Colorado. Like, they're a good college football team, but I mean, you're talking about Oregon. Oregon is a top 10 team, top to bottom.
Yeah.
And Colorado just can't compete with them. And, you know, I feel like, especially in college, like, there's a lot more that affects the game than should. You know, I feel like crowds affect the game more than they should, more than they do in the NFL. And I think going into that stadium in Oregon is it's an incredibly tough task. And Colorado, an inexperienced program, team, young players, they were nowhere close to ready for that. And I don't think it's necessarily their fault. I still think Colorado wins 8-9 games.
Yeah.
I just don't, like, their conference isn't super tough. Right now it is, because there's some loaded teams at the top. Like, the top 3 are Oregon, USC, Washington, loaded, all of them. And then
but then you also have Washington State, who had a huge win against Oregon State.
And Oregon State is good too. Oregon State's not bad either. So, like, they definitely have to go through some tough teams. But I like looking at their schedule. I know they play some of the weaker teams in the Pac-12. So I think that helps them.
And here's the thing: people jumped on Colorado because it's new. It was Deion Sanders. It was these top prospects that went to an FCS school that were now going to a D1 FBS school. And we're saying that they could finish with 8 or 9 wins. I think that they're about like 7 or 8. That's still 6 or 7 more wins than they had all of last year, which means they would be bowl eligible a year after finishing 1-11. That can't be understated how big that will be for the program in the future. And I think that that's the part that people are missing, because they wanted to get on Deion Sanders' hype train, and then they remembered that Deion Sanders is a very cocky coach, the same way he was a very cocky player, and didn't like it, and have decided to walk away now that they lost. Don't do that. Follow this program all the way through, because, they're going to get beat up by USC. I guess definitely get beat up by that. I don't see them beating Utah. I don't see that game relatively close either. But this team in a bowl game, even if it's like a low tier one, can you imagine how exciting that will be for a program that went nowhere in 30 years since winning the national championship? Like, that is so huge for that school and that team. There's so much that I'm excited for in the future that this is just year one. And that's what Deion has said as well. This is just year one. Wait until we can actually build our program.
Yeah, I'm in full agreement. I'm buying them for the future.
Me too. Especially if they keep Deion. Like, I hope one of the Blue Bloods doesn't pry him away from Colorado. I want him to stay there because I like what they're doing there.
Do you guys have anything else?
Go Phils.
Yeah,
that's the last thing I'm going to say.
Yeah.
You feeling it yet?
I'm more celebrating the win than celebrating the drink, but maybe it's a little bit of both.
So yeah, I think that'll do it for this week. We'll catch you guys next Saturday. We'll cover week 4 of the NFL, and we'll probably go more in depth with the MLB playoffs because that'll all be set. Probably, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Wild card will be starting that night.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Maybe we could watch it. All right, that'll do it. We'll see you next time.